Well, good morning, good evening, what to do? How are you? Who to who? Happy Thursday too. I am the sound of money in your ear, Dollar Avant. That's D-O-double-O. I'm often imitated, never duplicated. They call me the $1 billion babe, aka the pitch queen, aka the people's coach, aka Coach Dollar Bill. And you are in the dollhouse. This is the home of high value entrepreneurs. Over here, you guys were rising. It's day, oh my God. Oh my God. It's day 36. It's day 36, I think, of this 100-day challenge. And we are going hard in the paint because that's what we do. That's what we do over here. And I want to make sure that we create a space where we feel safe to not know the answers. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to know everything, but we can figure it out together. Together we can. You know what I'm saying? We can do it. That was a Cheetah Girls reference for those who don't know. And I'm here for the elevation, and I'm getting like a lot of stuff in how do you say, in my DMs, like people are sending me messages like, "Oh yeah, oh girl, like this happened and I've had a breakthrough and whatever." I'm here for all of this, y'all. So okay, let me tell you today. I want to tell a story. I kind of don't want to start the story because I know people be coming late and then they're gonna be like, "What happened?" Listen, I broke Chat GPT today. I mean, I don't use Chat. I use Bougie GPT, um, which is Claude, because he left OpenAI. Okay, story time. I'm streaming, so I can't be telling all my business. But basically, some people from the main GPT that most people know, which is Chat, reached out through a partner of mine, and they wanted to know what I had going on because they figured out about the same time I did that what I built with the Aqua Score is a single layer perceptron, which is machine learning, which is AI for the environment. Nobody has that. Okay. So they were like, do you think she'd be open to, think she'd be interested in possibly, da da da. So they came to me and they tried to get this whole presentation together. Da, da, da. Okay, cool. Well, somebody who used to work for that company didn't like some of the ethics or what was going on at said company. And then they brought me to, then he started Claude. That's where Claude came from. So it was a former open AI employee that's public record. He started his own, you know, GPT or whatever, so that it would be more ethical, or according to them. Anyway, fast forward. That's what I use. So today I'm doing my work. So basically, what I do, I need you guys to understand that when I'm teaching like this, and today is Thursday, so it's gonna be a triple, three times the value. Every time I come on here, I actually research. I go in, I pull receipts. I'm doing etymology. I gotta make sure my physics is correct. I do that, and I teach the entire lesson to myself. Okay. Then I record said lesson. Then I like think about it. I meditate. I try to do that the day before. So then I got like notes and stuff. I go to bed, I meditate on it. Then I wake up and I'm like, okay, here are my thoughts and findings. So I have all of these notes. Sometimes it's 20, 30 pages worth of notes every time I do one of these episodes, in case y'all didn't know that. And then it's like, okay, let me make sure there's some order, some sequence to this. And I want it to fill the format that I've created. I have a format. I try to do, principles and the problem, and then the principles, and then something practical. So I put it in my GPT to put it in that order, right? Today, when I did that, it literally broke the GPT. It was like, we're not allowed to do this level of analysis, and we can't tell you what, and you need to call somebody. I'm not programmed to do this and this and that. I was like, wait, what? I was like, it was like cybersecurity, something, something, something. And I was like, yeah, no, I didn't say anything about cybersecurity. I just want you to like organize my thing for the, it's day 36 or whatever. And it was like malicious spyware detected, like, like I swear on everything. It literally broke the GPT. And I'm going to tell you what broke the GPT on today. Okay. So I was talking about this issue of clarity, us finding clarity, right? There's entrepreneurship is a game. It's an outer game and an inner game. And what I'm talking and teaching about, and like the required viewing for all people in the dollhouse and all that kind of stuff, it is about aligning ourselves internally, going within and finding the power, aligning ourselves internally so that we can go out here and do this work and get this money so we can get off their system and be back. to self and back to our own power. And, the premise for today's episode is I'm like, because we've been talking about clarity for a long time. I'm like, you need clarity, you got to get it, But I also talk a lot about certainty and about knowing or about going before you know. And I don't mean knowing externally. I mean, yeah, right. When I say go before you know, I mean externally. You don't know, you don't have evidence externally as to what could possibly be. I don't know this thing. I never did it before. It's a new skill, it's a new thing for me. It's out of my comfort zone. Cool. But I need you to have certainty internally because I'm saying like the universe responds to our certainty and our frequency. And so like, I just need you to lock in and get centered. Okay. And do the thing and then go. Right. So I said, we have been taught and trained as Black people to not do that, right? To make sure everything is just so as a means of survival. So I had this whole narrative. I read an essay that was really inspiring about that, and like, from slavery times, like we had to like make sure it was cool. We only spoke the unspoken, the things we weren't sure of, like we know but we don't know. We only said that in hushed tones, like in private settings. But when you show up in corporate or you show up in this way, you got to be very put together. You got to have it together. And so what I put in the GPT that broke the GPT, I said, okay, facts. This is how we were raised to show up. I said, but my experience has been different. I said, I'm like this anomaly. I'm like this glitch in the matrix because my whole childhood, they created space for me to just be this person, to be precocious, to just, I'm outside, I'm questioning everything. Like I'm reading books, like I'm asking questions, like da, da, da. And it wasn't like, stop it. The only time my mother ever told me, don't do that was when I walked in. I don't know why I got to call her and ask her. She doesn't like it when I put her on blast. Otherwise, I would literally call her right now in real time. But I want to know why I was 3 days late to kindergarten. I'm not sure why. Okay. But she walks me in 3 days after everybody been in there. They already made their little friend groups and stuff. And I walk in. So the teacher meets her at the door and they shaking hands and they're doing the little mom teacher chat or whatever. And so they're like, just walk around the room, just check it out, So the kids are playing blocks and the kids are doing watercolors and the kids are over here, the kids. And so I walked around. I was like, oh, this is cool. Okay, cool. Okay, I could make something with that. I could do something with that. I came back to my mother and I said, Mom, like I'm talking loud. Like, you know how I yell? I be yelling. I was yelling. I said, Mom, what's wrong with these kids? They can't read. I'm five. We're 5. Like, I don't know. I think it's fine if you can't read when you're 5. I'm not sure. Like, I was literally like, Mother. And she was like, Lisa, she said, stop it. She said, don't. Shh. That's the only time she was like, you can't do that in this setting. Like, you got to bring that in. Hey. She was like, hold on. Okay. So I'm telling ChatGPT my experience. Other than that, as a child, like literally, I'm all the way outside. I'm like, why is this? Well, my dad was an engineer for NASA. Like, if he said this was possible, then this is possible. Like, there were no boundaries in my mind as a child, all the way through high school. I get to Harvard, and I'm gonna tell the story today. I get to Harvard, and I felt like I was at home. I didn't know. I mean, we were 9% Black, 9% out of 1,600. Yeah. My class was 9% Black, which apparently was a lot of Black people. I don't know for a class at Harvard, but it wasn't that. That was cool because my artist part and like my normal part, like the person that I am for real, I could actually find people I could hang out with. It's not like a bunch of nerds for real. But so that was cool. But it was also like I'm seeing children who were raised, like the heir to the Mercedes-Benz fortune, like. Fast forward, my second generation of my family, like they went to school with Malia Obama. Like it's just like, read a product, that you buy in the store, and it's like, oh yeah, that's my dad. Like it's like normal to them. Like, and so they're walking around, they're going to class, and they don't know. We're in physics class, we're in like the man who invented the black hole or something. Like he's like our professor or whatever, and it's just like they're just talking like they know everything. There was a certainty and an ease about like just like spouting your opinion and just like, well, this is what I think. I felt like I was finally in a place where that was normal. I grew up like that. So what I said it to the chat GPT, I said, okay, yeah, but then the place where I finally found resistance to that was when I entered the tech world. I'm literally just typing my story. I was like, I need you to adjust, I know what I said, but I didn't include this detail. Like, my parents were born and raised here. Two things that broke the chat GPT. One, I said my parents were from here, born and raised here. My grandmother said we're indigenous to America. And so that's my story. I need you to expound on that. And it glitched. And then I was like we're from here, but they couldn't handle that. And then I was like, also, when I got into tech, I was actually penalized. This is the first time I was penalized for not having the answer. I said it could be a W, because I'm streaming, is a W who didn't know. I mean, you're early stage, like you're raising a seed round. You don't know. How do you know, where your customers are going to come from? Like, what's all these level of detail. They're asking me questions like I'm a Fortune 50 CEO. And I'm like, we don't actually know that yet. We're going to figure that out in time. Put me next to a W. Okay. Same thing. I got the same award at the same time at NASA they do air quality. We do water quality. Same exact business model. They have dozens of competitors. We have none. They were purchased by a large company for $250 million 3 years ago now. 3 years ago in October. But me saying, I'm not sure yet, we're going to figure it out, I was penalized for that because I'm Black and I'm a Black woman. They're like, oh, well, you don't have the. And I'm like, what do you mean? How could I have that at this stage? And when I tell you, that was my prompt. So I'm like, this is my story. Just add that to the thing so I can go ahead on. When I tell you, it came back to me with, we cannot complete this task. You need to call somebody. It was like cybersecurity alert, like malware detected. Like, it could not process what I'm about to share with you, which is how we escape the matrix, how we get off the financial grid. And that is this: we need to have the level of internal certainty and not be concerned that we don't get external validation for what we know internally. I'm going to prove it to you scientifically. We're going to do the neuroscience or the physics or the whatever. Let's go. So we have been trained, programmed. We're smart. The smarter we are, the harder this is. We're double checking. We're triple checking. We're asking follow-up questions. We're like, are we sure? We're seeking confirmation. We're trying to get some validation from the outside because that's how we were raised. It's not even like we're insecure or whatever. We're actually trying to be strategic. We're like, well, let me make sure that this is just so and so and such and so before I do this thing, or before I take this step, or before I make this move or whatever. Right? Because we know that one mistake, we don't have no runway. We don't have a lot of time. We don't have no savings. We don't have the family and friends around, or they give us $200,000 or $500,000 to just go figure it out and float around like Mark Zuckerberg for 4 years. And he dropped out of Harvard and floated around California for 4 years with no plan, no like revenue model, just like, I mean, it's public record. This is the movie, The Social Thing. My friend that I went to college with was in that movie. Okay. We don't get that. Had I called my mother and said, Mommy, thank you for all your sacrifice and sending me to Harvard, but now I'm just going to drop out and I'm just going to figure it out. I just have a feeling like I can do something different. Like, I'm going to figure it out. She would have been like, girl, like literally there would have been a conference. Her and my grandmother, like everybody, like it would have been a problem. We don't get this level of luxury. Okay. But then simultaneously, if you get into these spaces, if you hesitate, if you're not sure, if you don't come fully prepared, if you ask questions, if you're like not sure, it's actually seen as a sign of weakness once we get into entrepreneurship. Anytime we show up as unsure, it's remembered. Even anytime we don't come with the fire and it's counted against us. Our mistakes linger longer in this space. Our confusion follows us. Okay. So we don't have as much grace. It reaches us, more slowly. So we have learned kind of to stay in this corporate mode and kind of super be prepared and precise and correct and to know everything, absolutely everything before we speak. But that's messing with your money, y'all. That instinct has kept us safe. And when we had a corporate job, it kept us employed. But now it is destroying your ability to soar as an entrepreneur. Okay. Because entrepreneurship is a game, right? It's not It's not a goal. It is a game that we got to learn the skills to play to win. And it is set up inside of the system that we know as capitalism. It does not reward external certainty. Knowing, having proof, evidence, and validation. It rewards internal certainty. Like, I see this thing and we're doing this thing and this is what we're about to do. And everything else, nothing else matters. Steve Jobs, I talk about going to Apple Park all the time. Obviously, I didn't meet Steve Jobs. He died, whatever year he died, okay? But I was invited to Apple Park, named one of 15 global environmental leaders. Okay, so we got to do the whole thing. We did the tour. I met with some of his first employees, all of that. And what I learned from them is the level of intentionality. He literally treated like his whole day was ruled by this. Just like I tell you guys, you need to spend 80% of your time talking to humans and only 20% like playing with Canva, doing this little back end admin stuff. He said his day was not successful. His week was not successful unless 80% plus of his time was dedicated to, he would go through his day or his week, the top 3 or 4 things that needed to get done to move, the needle, to move forward in whatever his goal was, whatever he was trying to achieve. Everything else, anything that wasn't related to those top 3 or 4 priorities was considered noise. So the top 3 or 4 priorities, that's my signal. And I'm going clear signal. Clarity. Everything that I've said from now on is about clarity. I'm focused on that. I'm working on that. I'm doing that. This is that. Everything outside of that, he counted it as noise. And he literally would not tolerate it, to the point where people who were close to him, who worked with him, thought he was a butthole, like a jerk. Like, he was just like, okay, that's cute, but no, we're not doing that. We're right here, because we got to get this done today or this week. Nothing else will be tolerated. And that came from within, though. Like, we don't know, like, you're inventing something that never existed before. Like, what is the iPhone? Like, what is that? Like, we don't know what that is. But he's like, no, we're going to do it like this. This is what we're about to do. And it changed the world. And we need to have that same level of internal certainty, even though externally we don't have evidence. And as Black people, we've been conditioned not to do that. So when we unprogram ourselves from that and come over here, that's not only going to get us off the financial grid, but according to I broke the GPT today, if all of us do that collectively, we're saved. Hey, this is how we save the world, y'all. We have to all go within and find this clarity about who we are, what we're here to do, and laser focus on that. I don't know what y'all talking about. I don't know what else is going on. I'm not sure. Okay, that's cute. Okay, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but no, I'm doing this because I know everything else is going to come from that. This is how we shift the thing, y'all. This is it. So anyway, we got to learn the difference between internal certainty and external certainty. Internal certainty leads to the clarity. And then the clarity, like I told you, is what's going to give you the confidence. The confidence allows you to stay present in the moment. When you're present in the moment, you're going to make a real connection with another human. And connection is the birthplace of all currency. We can flip the system if we figure this out, you guys. So let's talk about it. As people, as a unit, we do not well in ambiguity. We don't do too well. Clarity, actually, I saw this in an essay that I was reading the other day. Clarity is actually like a love language for us. Like, I need you to tell me exactly, okay, what are we doing? Like, what are the rules? Where do you need me to be? Like, the more information you give me, the more I'm like, thank you. So I know how to navigate, okay? Because we had to be attentive and precise and careful with our words and our actions and where we're going, what we're doing. We listen closely. We got to read between the lines. We got to see what's not being said. Like, we learn to do that. Because if we don't get that precision, the confusion or the uncertainty, or I was just outside, like Emmett Till, like, I'm just being a kid. I'm just walking around. I'm down the street and he's from Chicago or whatever. And he didn't know, like, that he couldn't just be outside. It's like, no. You got to be on point. You got to, hey, this is your survival on the line. So anything that's uncertain was actually dangerous for us. as Black people. Okay. So unlearning that is like the biggest shift that we have to make as entrepreneurs. Even though if you try to go through the traditional systems, like, oh, let me go get an investor, like I went into the tech world, they're going to penalize you for that. But if you build your own community and you have people around you, the reason why our entertainers and our athletes were able to win in spite of the fact that this is not built for us is because these were the only environments where we were allowed to just do what we do. Because I know what I know. I said what I said. I am who I am, and I'm showing up. And this is my true, authentic voice, and I'm just doing the thing. And we were rewarded for that. Any other system you go in, you penalized for that because you don't know what you don't know. Like, how do you mean? How do you mean? You're making a whole new sound. Nobody makes music like this. Nobody shoots the ball like this. Like, nobody moves like this. Like, nobody's doing this. You can't do that. When W's show up, they don't know what they don't know. They're like, oh, genius. They throw that word around really, really casually. Y'all know, shout out to my lady, I can't even think of her name right now, Dr. West, who invented the math that makes GPS possible. They never call us geniuses. Have you noticed that? I'm going to normalize that in this group. They never use the word genius when they talk about us, but they quickly give it that label to these people. And when I tell you, public record, Bill Gates, them, he did not invent this. Mark Zuckerberg, he did not invent the technology. He took it from somebody else and was like, okay, let me do it. We're gonna do it like this. Bill Gates paid $50,000 to get the DOS thing, whatever, to turn it into Microsoft. They're not inventing anything, but we call them geniuses. And they're just like, oh yeah, I had this idea, and they're breaking rules and doing all kinds of stuff. They get rewarded for that. We get penalized for it. And my ChatGPT literally said, when I told my story of how I was discriminated against in the tech industry because of these things, and I was penalized for just being outside and just, this is what I think it's going to be because I didn't have it all figured out yet. It literally glitched and told me that I was breaking the code of the GPT and it was not allowed to respond to me about this topic. So as a people, if we figure out how to have this internal certainty without knowing what's going on externally, when the whole world is crumbling around us, but we show up anyway, we're going to change the world. So yeah, let's get into it. All right. Let me tell you about my experience. Like I said, when I was a little girl, both my parents were PhDs when my mom was 4 credit hours short of her PhD, but they were born and raised here in America on this soil. Okay. They met in college at FAMU. They moved after they got married. They moved to LA. My older brother was actually born in Orange County. Okay, they moved to Atlanta the year before I was born. We're native and indigenous to Atlanta, to America, to these lands. Okay, so as a child, I'm asking questions. I'm running around. I want to know everything. I'm questioning everything. Okay, but this was encouraged in my household. They gave me all these amazing books to read. They were like, okay, we can't get this child to sit down. I'm skating. I'm roller skating in the house. Like I'm all the way just outside. I'm coloring on the walls. Like there's no bounds. So they literally bought all like sets of books because they're like, this will take some time. And I would read all the books, And but they encouraged my intellectual curiosity. They celebrated my genius. Okay. In my house. The only thing I was silent about at the time was my musical gifts and talents because everybody around me was so talented. Like my parents recorded with Stax Records, which is the home of Isaac Hayes. Like they were literally world-class musicians. And I was like, well, nobody ever taught me this. Like nobody ever sat down and had a lesson with me. Like, who am I to think that I could also be this person? And so I wasn't sure. That's a different story. But when I grew up in my household, thinking outside the box and being talented and excellent was normalized. And so that started to show up in all of my childhood and so forth and so on. When I got to Harvard, like I said, I finally felt like I was at home because I'm around a bunch of other kids who had this freedom and this ease with all this intellectual curiosity and just knowing. I know because I know. I said what I said. Like, I don't know what I know, but I'm telling you what I know and let's figure it out, right? They had an internal certainty that was just very natural to them. But then I also learned that a lot of people who looked like me did not have that when they were growing up. So we were taught, like I said, those specific rules to be humble, especially as women now. It's even worse if you're a Black woman. Act like you don't know everything, listen before you speak, earn your voice, just be quiet and silent and seen but not heard and all this kind of stuff. Taught not to take up too much space. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't embarrass your community or whatever. And they taught us that, like, this is what discipline or respectability or even survival was about. They were trying to protect you, whoever taught you that. But at the same time, when you get to an institution like Harvard, okay, you watch white students and people walk into those same classrooms, but they have a very different posture. They're not concerned. They're not studying whatever they got going on. They got confidence, entitlement, ease. They're like, hey, this is what I think, like da 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 da. And if they're wrong, the professor gives them some feedback. They just take it as feedback. They might guess, they're rambling, they might contradict themselves. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're not punished for that. Okay. So their uncertainty is treated as curiosity. Their confusion is they call it, oh, that he's intellectually curious and exploring new concepts. Their half-formed ideas were treated as potential, but ours are not. This is part of what capitalism has done to us. Okay. So then same energy now, but if we hesitate or we're not sure, they see it as, oh, she wasn't prepared. If we ask questions or we're just like, even in these Black entrepreneurship programs, that's why I no longer go to the place that should not be named, because they were bringing all this energy to our people. It's not okay. If we ask questions, it's like, oh, it's a sign of weakness. Like, you're not prepared. You don't know what you need to know. You're supposed to know that by now and all that. If we're unsure, it's treated as like, okay, I'm gonna put that as a check mark, as opposed to, oh, they're so curious and they're learning new things. So this confusion and uncertainty, it actually follows us. We have to pretend like we know everything, even when we don't, which is the antithesis of the experimental phase that we have to get through as entrepreneurs to be okay. If you don't do this experimental phase, you spend all your resources and time and money, and you buying ads and you paying for graphic design, you do all this around a hypothesis that has not been tested yet in the marketplace. So I experienced this even at Harvard. I graduated with honors, by the way. So no, I didn't get a certificate and all that. I really went to Harvard for sure, for real, as an undergraduate and all that. And in my science classes, they were just like, I don't know what was going on with these professors. They were just coming up with some, I don't know what this BS was. And I was just like, I'm not sure what's going on here. Like, is anybody confused? And everybody's like, oh yeah, they act like they knew. They didn't know what was going on. But I was like, this doesn't make any sense. The instructions were very unclear. The materials were like wrong. They're linking us to wrong sources and stuff. And like the concepts were all over the place. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, I can't, how am I supposed to complete this assignment? And most people were like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. And they would just go to their little private, that's the other thing. It's all politicized. So you leave class and then you go to your little study group. And the study groups, this is how you get through Harvard, by the way. Your study groups, they just like meet and like chat and share notes, and then they do the thing, and then everybody turns it in. That's how you get through Harvard, because it's a lot of reading. It's too much. It's actually too much. It's not hard. It's just like too much work. So if you don't have the study group, like if you're not in the in crowd, the little white, little nerdy crowd, it's like, can somebody explain I don't even know what this means. What does this mean? But somebody else's, their brother went to Harvard 3 years ago, and he's like, oh, this is how you do this. And they would literally tell them how to do the assignment for this crazy professor or whatever. I didn't have that. So everybody was, acting like they were cool. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. So I was like, I'm not the problem. It's not that I'm not smart enough. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. So I literally sat there at the end of class. There was one other Black student. We waited to the end of class. And then we were like, Professor, what in the heck? What is this? And what is this? What is this? And he was like, great question. And he broke it down for us. And he gave us the information. We were like, oh, okay. He gave us the clarification, what we need to do. Everybody else just went on. I don't know what happened to the people who weren't plugged in. Like, there are people who were plugged and they all shared notes and they were fine. There were people who pretended like they knew what was going on and they did not. And they were going to be confused. And then it was us, because I was willing to say, sir, this ain't in the textbook. You just told me to do this and that. What What source? Where am I supposed to find this from? Is there another? What do I need to do? And he broke it down. So my confusion was justified. But when you're in environments where they treat you like you're supposed to know, that's where we have a breakdown. And that's what's happening in our businesses, y'all. But the marketplace is treating you like you're supposed to know. Like we just had a whole thing today about some barcodes. How am I supposed to know? First of all, it's not my company, but my partner, my fiance. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? They need you to do what? And he's like, oh yeah, you need to, you're supposed to have to. Where are we supposed to? When? What class was this? What? What? We need what? And so I proceeded to like go into my zone of genius and just like figure it out. Like 2 hours, 45 minutes later, we figured it out. Well, done. Problem solved. Would have derailed the entire business, mind you, because we're scaling nationally. So if we can't do the barcode at the local health food store, all of a sudden the barcodes don't work, then we can't go into Whole Foods. We can't go into the national, Trader Joe's and people who've been calling. We figured it out. But had we been like, oh, we should have known this. Oh my God, it's us. Like we're the problem. Like da. Like if you fall into that trap and turn it into an identity issue, instead of just being like, oh, new information, put me on game. What we talking about? There's an internal certainty in spite of lack of external validation. That's what we have to normalize, okay? So there are people in the world who get to make things up as they go. They get to move around. They don't get penalized. Like the people on the other side of the phone will make accommodation for you. They'll be like, oh, this isn't work, but this is what we're going to do. Like they would have come up with the solution had we been somebody else. But because we are Black people and they call themselves being corporate, they were like, oh, yeah, we can't, and we need this by the end of the day. Because they're thinking we can't figure it out. We figured it out. Okay, so some people can just like, oh my God, I didn't know. Can you make an exception? And they will. But we as Black people cannot. We're expected to be prepared, precise, and correct at all times. Okay, we're expected to know before we speak. We're expected to have everything together before we show up. We're expected to represent more than just us. We represent everybody, the whole tribe, everybody is represented by what we do. So one mistake from us is taken as evidence of a problem for everybody, for all of us. It's too much weight, okay? But as a result of that, we take a very specific kind of relationship to like knowledge, like learning new things. And we overthink, we double check, we triple check, we prepare excessively. We're business planning it out. We're asking all kind of questions. We're seeking confirmation. We're seeking credentials. We're doing all of this stuff, not because we're insecure, but we're trying to be, like I said earlier, strategic. We're trying to make sure that we got it just right before we go, because we understand what's at stake. The only problem is that's keeping us stuck. It's keeping us from making money in our business. Okay. So when you're in an environment, when capitalism was not built for us, it was built on us. When your curiosity is read by the marketplace as incompetence, we got to make an adjustment. And that's why I teach the way that I do. That's what informs my teaching style. So I'm creating a space here in the Dollhouse where you don't have to have everything together. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to feel like you know all the answers. You can do the work and figure it out. I'm about to call on you, Tracy, in a minute. Shout out to you, Micaiah. Shout out to Asia on the Zoom. And whoever's on stream, I can't see y'all, but I know you're there. Creating a space where we don't have to have it all together. Like, I know what my business is, but I don't know. But I know, but I don't know. And then we collectively help each other figure it out. That's what we're doing here. We got to get to that clarity, because in that clarity, there's power, there's joy, there's actually strength. That's where we tap into the confidence. And then, like I said, that confidence allows us to be present in the moment, to make real connections with other humans. And that connection becomes the birthplace of our currency. And nobody can take that away from you. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. So, Tracy, if you ready, I need you to share the new pitch that has come as a result of you. Y'all did some work. Y'all did a small group or something. Y'all had
Oh
a
no.
chat
Oh no.
offline. Something was said and done. I want to hear what you got so far. We're gonna do this again tonight.
Well,
By the way, we're gonna do
okay.
this again.
I feel emotional because this group is so timely for me, and it's what I need right now to regulate because it feels like so many things are is like they're going up in flames, and this group is giving me a gift, and I'm locked in. My new pitch is I help Black women bridge the gap between mental health and physical well being by guiding them through yogic practices and exercises so they can live their best life on and offline.
I like that. I like that. Now, why are we saying on and offline? Talk to me about that.
Ooh, and I'm glad you asked. This is a conversation. Makaya had a whole nother reason why she thought I chose it. And I guess it has three parts. May I ask what you think when you hear that before I say it?
I just thought of, being on the internet and then my real life.
Yes, that's crazy. We Geminis. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Okay.
I meant that there is a persona that we portray online that's usually so much juicier than our real life.
Okay.
And imagine if those two worlds could bridge. Makaya thought for people that spend a lot of times online, that work virtually, that's also good for people to think that. And there was another thing that she thought too. Oh, yeah, she also thought that meant I taught online and offline. So it kind of covers these three spectrums. But more than anything, it leaves room for conversation.
So, okay. So in clarity, the way we find clarity is elevation. Because I'm letting y'all go at 3 because we got to do this again at 6 o'clock tonight. Clarity leads to elevation, or the path to clarity is elevation. So is there a way to say we all have this persona, this facade, this way that we show up or present ourselves, our representative? We say that in dating circles, but like in life, we have this representative, but then we have the real us.
Yes.
And you're teaching people how to bridge the gap between the two and make it one thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we got to take what I just said and find a simple language that makes that so clear so that nobody's confused. Nobody has to be like, what you mean offline or online?
Mm-hmm.
So take that last piece and now elevate it. And maybe even the front piece, because when you said physical health and mental health,
I help
I'm thinking,
Black women. Yes.
Right, integrate something there, right? Okay. But I feel like they don't necessarily walk around and saying, I need to bridge the gap between my mental health and my physical health. But what you're saying is you're talking about how we present ourselves to the world versus how we really feel inside.
How you're feeling on the inside, how you're feeling on the outside is affecting how you're feeling on the inside is affecting how you look on the outside. That's why someone can come up to you and say, girl, you look stressed, and you haven't said a word to them yet. Mm-hmm. Because they're feeling something that's happening in you. And it's not because your clothes are on backwards or because you had a frown. You may have had a smile, but they're sensing something that's inside of you that's off balance. Mm-hmm.
There's so much power in this. Don't let up. We're going to keep working on this because, ooh, girl, when you get this, they're going to immediately feel activated. They're going to be like, oh. Hold on. They're going to raise their hand and be like, oh, she's talking to me. Oh, what we doing? Like, it doesn't matter what you say after this. It's like, I need this. I want this. I'm signing up for this. Is there an email? Like, can include me in the conversation? Are you on Zoom? Like, where is there? What's happening? They're going to want to be a part of it as soon as you nail the language. You see how powerful this is?
I agree.
Don't let up. So shout out to y'all for doing
Thank you.
The homework. Come on.
Yeah, family's being created. I'm loving this.
Ooh, family. Mm-hmm. My one of my mentors was like, child, I don't use that word family in business. I was like, no, if we do it right, it's gonna feel like that. If we do this right, it's gonna feel like that. It's like my people got my back. Like I won't always agree with you, whatever, but I know You know what I'm saying? Like it's something here. Like that's why I miss my brother so much. I miss him so much. Rest in peace. Because it's just like we came from the same ground. You know what I'm saying? Like it's certain things like what's understood don't have to be said. Like it's certain things that we just know. Like I don't have to sit here and tell you and convince you and like give you the background. Like you just know. Like I could just send you this video and you just gonna get it because you were there when we were 3 and the man did the thing. We were in the church. Like you know what I'm saying? That's what I mean by family. It's like we have a shared understanding.
Yes.
And that's what I want to create here in the dollhouse. So I'm so honored that y'all are here. I swear it means everything to me. It really does. Because I don't
You
care
mean
if it
everything to us.
20 million people
Yeah.
later, it's this gonna be this crew right here. So thank you for that. And
We
work on it
appreciate
some more because we're gonna do it again at 6. I'm gonna do the same thing again at 6 o'clock, y'all.
you.
um So we have this instinct, all right, to protect like the uncertainty and the figuring it out. That's why I want to normalize it in this space because it comes from our history. There's actually a term. I mean, like I said, I read this essay, but I'm pretty sure that's like a term. I mean, me being an Afro American history major, I'm pretty sure it's a term. But they would call them hush harbors. These are like hidden spaces where enslaved people would gather to pray, read. They're not supposed to be reading. It was illegal to read, but they would read and they would reflect and they would tell each other stories that they could remember, and they would gather to make meaning of their lives, even though it was illegal to do that. They would do it in quiet, private spaces. Because the external world was designed, y'all, and still to this day is designed. You see it in real time. You see it on video now, right? It's designed to confuse us, to dehumanize us, and ultimately to control us. But our ancestors knew how to create clarity for themselves. And shout out to Frederick Douglass. So somebody sent me a video. Apparently, I can't speak to this. I can't speak to this. I got to call a couple of people. I got to call Cornell West. Got to call some people. I'm not getting into any conspiracy theories. So anytime I mention a famous person, whether that's Frederick Douglass, Cornell West, freaking Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kendrick, I don't care who I'm naming, I'm not addressing the fact that there's possibly a whole dark side going on. I'm not addressing that. I'm addressing the narrative that we were, Obama, all of them, the narrative that we were taught and what that means for us as a people. Okay, because their narrative gave us strength. It gave us something, right? It gave us power. So please do not get in my comments talking about, oh, well, such so actually he was a plant and this is it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not talking about that. Okay. But I went to Frederick Douglass High School. All right. Astros, black and gold, all day. I got one person that I know for sure in the dollhouse is actually with me. A lot of famous people, T.I., Keisha Lance Bottoms. Shout out to the mayor. If your mayor's name Keisha / Andre, I mean, that's how you know you're from Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Welcome for all y'all who not from here, but this is like the most Atlanta thing ever. Like our mayor, her name was Keisha. Like what? Mayor Keisha. Okay. Tip, Killer Mike, I don't know, some NFL guys. These people went to my high school, not my same year. They were ahead of me. Okay. But like, I'm from here for real. Like, what you're not gonna do. What you talk about, oh, I'm from Atlanta, you live in Covington. No, you live in Powder Springs. Okay, you live in Lovejoy. You're not from Atlanta. Zone 4. Okay, anyway. One of the things that Frederick Douglass was known for was his newspaper, right? The North Star. Was his like thing, right? The thing that he called. I mean, he called it the North Star. So we were the Astros, but it's this. You need a clear focus for your energy. It's the North Star. Remember when they were like escaping slavery or whatever, they would look for the North Star. Why? Because they're trying to get to like the North or like Canada or whatever. You got to follow the North Star. And so all of his work was built on that. And so I remember learning what we learned in high school about his story and all of that was just like ultimately what I'm sharing with you today. The importance of having clarity. Know who you are. I said what I said. I don't have to see it outside to know what I know. As long as I know my North Star, as long as I can find where I'm headed, this is where I'm headed. It's the energetic center, y'all. So what did you create your business? That's why we start with why. Why did you start a business? What are you trying to do? What are you building? What is going on here? Why does this even matter? Should anybody care? Why should anybody stop what they're doing and like pay attention to what you got going on? When you can articulate that, there's a lot of power that comes after that. However, that doesn't mean you know the answers like, okay, well, how are you going to pay for that? Well, who's the customers? Well, where are you going to find them? Well, how do you do this? Well, what about that? We have to figure that part out. That part is an experiment. But as Black people in the American system, we were trained to not step out until we have all the answers, until it's just perfect and just so. But entrepreneurship does not reward that. So you got to strengthen your internal certainty and clarity and then move even though you don't have external validation. Okay, so our ancestors, they would go into spaces where they were protected. The cocoon that I'm trying to get all of us to commit to, where you lock in. It don't matter somebody saying, "Oh, you can't do this." Oh, da, da, da. Oh, you don't have this. Oh, you da, da, da. You're not qualified. Blah, 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 blah. You need X amount of dollars. You can never. Da, 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 da. They're telling you all this stuff. You shut all that out, just like my ancestors used to do, and we go into this cocoon. They would study. They would share stories. They studied scripture. They shared knowledge. They interpreted their reality together. That internal certainty, that internal narrative became more powerful than what was happening to them outside. They refused to accept spiritual or intellectual isolation. If they had to do it in the middle of the night, they had to sneak from one slave quarters to the next one. They would unite and create this level of connection and strengthen each other's internal certainty. They built this understanding in the midst of terror, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of whatever was going on. You know, Denzel, his first Oscar, with that scene that he won the Oscar for. I mean, say what you want about slave movies, because I can't. It's hard for me to watch a slave movie. I'm kind of mad. Like, why did Halle Berry win for what she won for? If you ever saw the movie, it's like, wait, what? This is what we're doing? Okay, fine. It's fine. It's whatever. Lupita, all of them. They get the Oscar for the slave movie. Okay, fine. But the thing that they definitely are speaking, whether they mean to not or not, what they're communicating is when you're able to do a type of scene like what Denzel did for his first Oscar, if you know Glory, if you know the movie, and they're whipping him and he just didn't move and didn't say nothing, but just the tear come down. How do you do that? Where does that come from? There's an internal certainty that flies in the face of whatever's happening outside of you. And what my job is to get everybody to know that what's happening inside is more real, not just as real. It's more real and more important than what is happening externally. Because if you hold that frequency long enough inside of you, it's going to change what you see externally. It's very difficult for me to talk like this. And yet I'm doing it because if we can normalize this in this group, we'll be back at 6:00, y'all. If we can normalize this in this group, the ones who show up consistently, we're going to be making all this money and they're going to be like, what are they doing? What's going on? I don't know what's happening. Oh my God. Like, because when you go within, that conversation that you had last week and you had a spark of an idea, oh, maybe I should, you'll actually do it because you'll trust that more than, oh, I'm just a web designer. Oh, I'm just a, podcast host. Oh, I'm just a cook or a yoga instructor. Oh, I'm just a, whatever. And you'll follow that intuition and it'll lead you to some whole other place that you didn't know was even possible for you. You didn't even know was in the cards for you. So the more we go within and then build systems and structures around what is coming out of us instead of bowing or caving or submitting to what we see outside of us, the more we can change our life. And as long as you don't violate universal law, now you can't be arguing with the people at the house. You can't be all, listen, either y'all need to separate or y'all need to stop fighting. I don't know. Either one. But the fighting and the confusion is messing with your money. The self-doubt and the bickering and the back and forth, well, you ain't da, 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 and you da, da, da. Words are containers for energy. It's messing with your energetic frequency. Money is energy. So the more we can just settle in, get comfortable in this cocoon, y'all, like in the womb of the work, like enjoy the journey. The joy is in the journey. The more we can do that, trust that inner voice more than whatever you see externally. Even if you're not getting external validation, that's how we crack the code. So I'm gonna stop talking because we're getting off. It's 3 o'clock. Or I'm not doing this. We're gonna be back at 6 o'clock, and that's what it's gonna be. Questions, comments, concerns, challenges, feedback, personal stories, perspective, and story time. Yes. What y'all got? Go, JC.
So today I had a great experience being in the sauna. It seems to be a place that I can hang out now where people kind of want to hear my thoughts. And somebody was in there today and I was saying, "How are you doing?" And she was like, I'm tempted to say I'm okay, but I'm not. She's like, things are coming to me at all different angles: relationship, family, my business. And we started to talk about yoga. And normally I would kind of make it flip, like, yeah, I just kind of, but I was like, Tracy, you have a business that you're selling. You need to listen. You need to have your thoughts out there. And this particular day, I'm kind of in the sauna, kind of butt naked, like just with my panties. And I have long breasts, like foldable breasts. So sometimes I'm like, you try to talk like you're a trader, but your breasts just be hanging like, whatever. Like they're just down there, like my belly button. So I'm like, no, that's okay. I don't have to be perfect in order to give her some insight on yoga and breath work. And we just spoke and we were able to really get into a conversation, and other sisters were in there too. And it felt good to understand that this is something I know and it's something I'm living. So I just wanted to let you know I'm getting more comfortable being someone that has certain answers on things, and not perfection. It's just there's certain things that I'm practicing and I could actually let them know how that practice is working. And we just got to speak through different things. And I realized I didn't have to sell her anything. I had already gotten her number from a couple of days before. And I know that this is something that I'm building. Like I'm building this community with her where I'm giving her little resources, little gems here and there that she can use. And this is going to be something in her head. So I appreciate you, doll. So that's it.
That's beautiful. Wow, that was actually very detailed and descriptive, but that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Yes, yes,
I'm
it
here
felt
for it.
good. It felt good. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else want to share? I mean, again, we're gonna be back at 6 o'clock, so I'll see y'all then. But listen, us being confused, us being quiet, us being small, it benefits systems of power. Again, I'm not doing a good job of explaining to you what happened today. When I put this story into Chat GPT, bougie GPT card, just to get it in the right order so it wasn't rambling, I want you to understand that it broke the Chat GPT. It literally was like, cannot compute. We will not be sending you any information on this. Something about malware, something about malicious, something. Like it literally broke it. I exited out and went to another whole tab and an old new thing, and I was like, "Can you tell me what's wrong with this prompt? Like, what is prompt? Blah 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 blah." And it said, "Oh, there's nothing wrong here. You were just sharing your personal story of being discriminated against in the tech industry because you were stepping outside of what you know, just like all the white boys do, and you got penalized for that. But the fact that I said that and put it in writing and I said it out loud broke the freaking code that was programmed by said W's. And I want you to understand that the more we can get comfortable with having internal certainty, we just lock into the frequency. It is what it is. This is what I know. What I know for sure is this right here. Now, how to do that, I'm not sure. What that looks like, I don't know. How long it's gonna take, I'm not sure. But dog got me, I got some tools, I got a mentor, I got some people, they're gonna help me figure it out. I'm just gonna go. See how I keep closing my eyes? It's like I'm just doing the thing. Well, you can't do that. Well, you don't have to. Well, you don't qualify. Blah, 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 blah. Shut down the external noise because other people who don't have as much melanin as we do, they show up with less certainty, less brilliance, less greatness, less value than we have. And they get funded for tens of millions of dollars. They get all over the web, and they get partnerships, and they get promoted and pushed and all of that with a fraction of the brilliance that we have. So here in the dollhouse, as visionary scientists, visionary creatives, entrepreneurs, people we are literally assigned to change the world. I want you to know that it's okay not to know everything as long as you know internally. So with that being said, I'm gonna let y'all go. I'll see you at 6 o'clock. And until the next one, I gotta go. And we're out. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Pew!